This spot was a loose collaboration of artists and musicians who all occupied this space to practice or as studio space, and eventually we got together and did art shows and music performances and integrations of the two for free audiences.
Gloss. This ain't a fairy tale, it's a family tree. With all the bushy branches leading right to me. I bear the leaves of royalty. That's why you can't fuck with me. I'm the sole member of an American ruling class. I'm the Pharaoh boy, USA, the underground aristocrat. Oh, I'm the real thing, baby, yeah, I swear I'm not a clone. No Elvis, Beatles, or the Rolling Stones. 1997 didn't have to stand alone. When it comes to dollars and cents, whatever. Action. All I want, all I get. All I want is the rest. 'Cause baby, I'm the boss. Like chicken wing and hot sauce. And peppermint dental floss. Baby, I'm just. Gloss. In the heart of the jungle they carved it on out. Found a little kitty singing twist and shout. I'm the king of the monkeys. That's why you can't fuck with me. Got a guitar and I play that fucker all the time. Listen to this. But a dollar ain't worth a dime if you can't make it rhyme. Am I the real thing, Cindy, or am I full of hoes? No halflings plow or the bouncing souls. 2007, guess we're doing it alone. When it comes to dollars and cents, whatever all I want, all I get. All I want is the rest. 'Cause baby, I'm the boss. Like ribs in barbecue sauce. Or bubblegum dental floss. Baby, I'm just. Gloss.
You did awesome. I'm going to switch gears.
In my mind, the spot was a place where people could go and listen to music, see art, and it was also a place for musicians and artists to create their art and practice it. In other words, kind of a haven almost, if you would say, like where you could just kind of go and hang out and practice your music or paint or sculpt or do whatever you needed to do in, you know, kind of a space that was your own almost.
The very oldest part of the foundation, I believe, dates back to the late 1700s, early 1800s. It was part of a mill that was down, a textile mill that was here on the Brandywine River. There's a carriage house out behind the spot that's the same sort of foundation and structure that this part of the building has, and it's just old fieldstone, dry set walls all around down here. This corner of the building is pretty old, and the rest of it, the upstairs area and the block and everything was added later to expand it when it became a paint store and a retail stuff here for a while. I think they moved in the 50s or 1950s or so here. I don't really know too much about what exactly the building did though before that, if it sat vacant. It was called Manley's Paints here for a good number of years. Initially, the space was rented out by a group called the Urban Bike Project. They're a non-profit bicycle shop that...
Well, the Urban Bike Project is a non-profit community bike shop. We're located here in 1908 North Market Street, where the spot was as well. We started about 6 years ago in my living room, basically just pulling bikes out of the trash and helping neighborhood kids fix their bikes up. And eventually my house just filled up with bikes, and it got to be where you couldn't watch a football game without kids knocking on the door to get their tires pumped up or their chain fixed or anything like that. So we started looking for a place to, expand the operation, kind of make it a little more legitimate, and also, take it away from my personal life and kind of be able to help more kids out than just the kids in my neighborhood. Eventually, through basically going through to a lot of meetings, city meetings, bike meetings, just everywhere anyone would let us talk for 5 minutes. It paid off by someone from the Brandywine Village, Greater Brandywine Village Revitalization Committee. I don't remember the exact name of the organization, but they're basically involved with making the Brandywine Village area a better place. And they contacted us and said that McConnell Johnson Real Estate had a vacant building that they were trying to rent and were unable to up to this point, and we'd be interested in meeting with them and possibly renting the building. When we met with McConnell Johnson, they were asking a lot of money for the building, and we at the time didn't think that we would be able to afford the full rent for the building ourselves, so we kind of agreed to rent part of the building and also help find a tenant for the upstairs. At the time, that tenant was Green Delaware Recycling, and it kind of shifted gears a few times from there until it eventually became the spot, kind of run by Sean.
Yeah, after some raucous party at his parents' house, he got kicked out, and I was on the dole as well. So
we all were, me, you, and Ketty. We didn't know what we were gonna do.
We during this part of our lives, we really lived this experience. I mean, the songs.
It was true. Living out of my car, living at the spot on the couch, staying at Jess's. Taking showers? Yeah, that's right.
Taking showers out of the sink.
I used to take showers out of the sink at the spot. It was like I stunk so bad, and I was like looking for jobs. I was looking for anything.
Sleeping on a filthy futon, or he'd sneak through my window late at night for a bed to stay in. I mean, we were really close, and we were really.
All of this was. Yeah, it was cool.
I mean, it was so pure. Yeah. Helping each other out, just getting by.
Yeah, everybody pulled each other.
We really lived the music.
That was cool.
I like shows.
Well, in the beginning we played there like once a week because it was just like we went from having just a practice spot that we played in like 5 days a week, and to like people just started showing up, and it was like a party every night. So we were like, all right, cool. That's awesome. We're drinking, we're partying, we're all talking, having fun, and then we're playing some songs every now and then. And then, like, next thing we know, there were so many people downstairs that we were like, man, we're probably gonna have to go upstairs, And then we went upstairs, and then we're like,
everybody.
Yeah, and then next thing, once we went upstairs, other bands started joining in. Then you got like 200 people up there, and you're just like, awesome. You don't really realize it as it's happening. You just kind of like go with it, Like it's just kind of like, holy shit! Like all these people want to play here tonight. Let's do it and see what happens.
5, 6 bands, everybody jockeying for position, but everybody, nobody getting along.
Every single band got along great, like especially with like Grant and Todd and them, like Tip Patrol, Eddie's, whatever, Waste Oid,
kind of the brothers.
They were the brothers. Yeah, and they were always really cool.
Okay, well, the first show at the spot happened because Skinny Dick Jones, the Headies, and Sex on Horses were, we thought, originally scheduled to play at Bank Shots in Pike Creek, I guess? Is that what it is? And we all got there, started moving equipment in, and none of the staff at Bank Shots had any idea that they were supposed to play there that night. So, everyone was like, what the F are we supposed to do now? We're standing around, twiddling our thumbs, and, we had brought, there was 15, 20 people with us to see the show, and, we were just like, why don't we just go back to the spot? Just set up in the practice space and stable and see what happens. And that's the rest is history. That's the first show at the spot. It was a complete accident how that show happened. It was brilliant.
So we knew Brian and Ozzy from the Urban Bike Project. We knew they had a space downtown. We investigated it, and they let us have a little piece of the basement that we affectionately called the stable. So we set up shop, and we could play as loud and late as we wanted to, and then it started from there. Then after a couple intimate shows, as we were practicing, people would hang out. We'd throw some impromptu shows, and pretty soon we noticed, well, in the beginning we had that big open space upstairs where predominantly all the shows were taking place.
There was no one really to manage the place, or the bike project didn't want to run the entire building, or really coordinate the artists and the musicians. They were busy over their heads, you know, with stuff to do for the bike project, and that, you know, since I was renting a space already, I guess it just, you know, everyone got together and agreed that, you know, somebody needed to take charge of it and kind of, you know, maintain the lease with the landlord and just sort of manage the use of the space. And I volunteered for that, you know, not really knowing what was going to become of the place. We'd had, you know, practices in the basement, and had friends come over and had a show or two upstairs, and, you know, we thought this is quite an opportunity for us to, you know, if I start doing this, then our band can play here and other bands can play here, and we can start doing something. And that was when really the spot took off in earnest. Yeah, we got together. A few people got together and with Sex on Horses, and we did something called the Punk Rock Prom. There was another Punk Rock Prom before that. There some folks that attended and thought it was a, you know, great idea to do that since we had a space upstairs. So ourselves, Tip Patrol, and a few other bands got together, and you know, we played a show for probably 20-25 people all together, and it was a great time. Everybody had fun, and we, you know, we thought, well, we should keep doing this. And, you know, we did. At the time, the guys that were in Green Delaware Recycling weren't really present a lot to manage what was going on here, and there was sort of a lack of anyone to sort of, you know, steer things through the night. You know, whenever some problem would happen, it was always like, who's gonna do this, who's gonna handle that, and eventually we figured that we did need some sort of some sort of head point of contact for whatever happened down here, and that's where I took over that and started just coordinating what nights the shows would happen with the bands. We had such a variety of events going on here. We had different people had different circles of friends and bands that they knew and bands that their friends knew that they brought in. So there were a lot of different groups of people were meeting here, just running into each other, and we weren't really too picky about the lineups for an evening. It wasn't like we did, oh, it's Friday night, we're doing all hardcore bands. The bands that could play that night were the bands that played that night, and we tried to accommodate their time needs and stuff. But I mean, it was pretty much like if you were here and you wanted to go on, then you went on. And some of the shows had better planning than others and more advance notice. And we had touring bands coming from all over the place, and some of those guys knew months ahead of time that they were coming down. And we had guys coming from as far as Denmark to play here. Todd knew a band called the Colo Freaks who had played at 700, and he got those guys to swing back through. They were pretty excited about the spot and just the nature of the venue, and it being something a little different, not being a bar, not being a theater proper. It was just a place where shows happened and art was exhibited.
We had a lot of fun shows. It was always fun. My favorite show was probably this one night where there was this art collective, like media company that was renting space upstairs, and they were doing this huge, show with 1 million bands that were all playing in one night, and they had guys out front doing graffiti, and it was really, really crowded, and it just seemed like this really hip thing. There was lights everywhere. It was really cool. You know, the Cave Bats were booked to play. There's so many people here. You know, and most people knew each other, and it was just a lot of fun. People were drinking. Everyone was smoking cigarettes out front, talking, yakking it up. And we actually lost track of time, and we were down here in our practice room, drinking, hanging out, and we realized that we had to shut the place down, and we didn't get to play. And then I had to wait for my girlfriend to pick me up by the back door when all the lights were off and everyone had already left because we lost track of time. Or no, that was another night. It doesn't matter. It was fun. We didn't even get to play. That's probably the most fun show.
Definitely by a long shot, my favorite shows at the spot were the food bank benefit shows that Ted and Sean put on. Basically, there was just tons of bands and tons of people, and everybody's out for a good cause. Basically, just high caliber music, and all to benefit, you know, the food bank. I think we filled up, you know, I don't know how many giant barrels full of food we filled up for them. So it was a great time.
There's all this money floating around in the world, and so many greedy people, and so many people in this economy can't eat. So I went to Sean McGonigal, the person who ran the spot, and asked him, hey, I want to put on a show to raise money. That's the only thing I know how to do to raise money. I was broke. I didn't have a job either, you know. I was 2 steps away from having to, you know, need the emergency feeding program myself. So we got a lot of people involved. The first one was done in just in time for Christmas. It was December 2008. And we had 8 bands play, among them Future Unwritten, Cave Bats and the Gold Dust, James Madison's Bleeding Heart played. I think there was a Shine's first show ever. And we raised, on very short notice, and we put the show together in about 3 weeks. I contacted the food bank, got some bins for the food. We got about 150 pounds of food and like $200 some in one night, and we donated it all to the food bank. We had a lot of people volunteer to help. The second one we had was actually a whole weekend event. We booked 24 bands for that show. It was April 3rd to the 5th, 2009. And it was a riot. I mean, we had all kinds of bands play. And it was fun. A lot of people came out. We raised for the weekend over $500 and over 500 pounds of food for the food bank. And that's a lot of canned goods. And the money would buy a lot for them. It was all for charity. You know, it's not like some of the bars around here have, well, they donate like 10% of the proceeds of the night to a charity. Everything went to charity. You know, there's no overhead on it. People came. We had probably about 15, 16 volunteers who did it for nothing more than, you know, a couple beers and the ability to help out with a good cause.
I really had a great time at the Halloween show that we had here. My band with a few other guys did a New York Dolls set, and there was an Iggy and the Stooges set that was done, and just the whole night was kind of awesome and fun. Halloween's always cool, so that's at the top of the list. A band from New Jersey played here a couple times, the Sheckies. They were always an awesome show, still are. And we had Man Without Plan here as well. That was a really great show. Boyles played here. That was also really cool. Yeah, we had a lot of great shows.
For all intents and purposes, ended when the Wilmington Fire Marshal put a stop work order on our door. Unbeknownst to me, we had attracted some attention doing what we were doing, having shows, and people were networking, using social networking to tell their friends about what was going on down here, and putting together a little flyer saying, hey, these are the bands we know are playing here this night, and posting it on others, other people's profiles, and so the word was getting around, and it was definitely out there. Anyone that was curious about what was going on at 1908 North Market Street would pretty much get directed to a MySpace page for the spot, where we had a list of bands that we knew were going to be playing on the dates that were coming up, and that was where a flyer some people made got posted for a New Year's Eve show. And about that time, the Wilmington Fire Department, I guess one of their trucks was coming down Market Street after a call and noticed some people moving equipment in and out of the building. I guess bands were, changing gear up between sets, and they wondered, well, what's going on there? They didn't, we don't know anything there, and we never had officially been cleared by the fire marshal for any sort of assembly. We just assumed that since the building was a retail establishment before, and there were fire extinguishers and exit signs and everything up from its previous use, we assumed that we were pretty clear to do what we were doing. We weren't really a business of any sort. We were just a building where things were happening, and so we thought we were cool until we got the stop work notice, and we contacted the fire marshal, who told us that we would need to submit our plan to change the designation of the building from retail establishment to an assembly point, and along with that we would need to modify the building to comply with all the fire and life safety codes that went along with an assembly point. They based that on the square footage and the construction of the building, and so that was a huge amount of information to digest. I started looking at the fire code and stuff and realized that this was really more than I could handle. So I talked to the landlord, who got a fire and safety consultant to come in and check the building out, and he let us know that we were going to need to add sprinkler systems and really an extensive and expensive set of modifications to the building that no one was going to be able to foot the bill for. So that put it to an end.
As it's known, all good things must come to an end. And because of the illegitimacy of it, we didn't figure out the code, we have barely more than handshake permission to be there. And we got a couple write-ups in some local newspapers a few times, like, one of the best 10 things to look for in the new year, Spark Magazine, News Journal, Delaware Today, and, after a while things caught on, authorities got involved, fire marshal. Ultimately, the downfall was it wasn't up to fire code, and, back to the question, my reaction was, well, that was good while it lasted. Things were changing. People didn't have quite the gusto to put into it anymore. And yeah, I was devastated. But like I said, that was a time. That was a nice capsule of time, and we're all thankful it happened.
Obviously disappointment. It sucks that it's closed. Looking around here today, I'm thinking, man, it would be awesome if this was still an operable venue. But at the same time, I wouldn't say that I was surprised at all, for a number of reasons. One, the press that we had been getting right before we closed. It's always good to get press, but when you're kind of trying to fly under the radar, press can be quite damaging. Things that were posted, such as, that we were an all-ages venue, that was bring your own beer. When you see those kind of things in print, you kind of say to yourself, this isn't going to last. And it wasn't really even accurate, although it was probably somewhat accurate. But from a standpoint of the greater community, the city isn't going to want to have a place that's probably uninsured and is doing things that, need to be regulated in terms of alcohol. You can't really have a venue that's all ages and also say bring your own beer, because then obviously you're advocating underage drinking, which isn't really what we wanted to be about. But so that was part of it, and then just kind of the overall scene, like we discussed, this wasn't run like a normal venue. The goals weren't what normal venues were, and yet we were competing against what are legitimate venues, whether they're bars or stages. And in that regard, those people that are standing there watching a place like this kind of do what they're trying to do for profit, not for profit, we're eating into their profits. So I don't think that necessarily the greater community embraced us because of that.
I know from my perspective there was a lot of drinking and partying, and I'm sure it wasn't the same for everybody. It was just sort of a fun thing for me to get away and just come to the spot, play some music, hang out. You know, I think it was definitely more of a heartfelt. There was more of a heartfelt connection for some of the people who were more intimately involved, like Sean McGonigal or Ted Bond. In particular, luckily the Urban Bright project is still going on because that's not associated with the music and the overcrowding and stuff, which is important.
I'm not really sure the exact reason that the spot ended. I mean, you could say because the fire marshal shut it down. I mean, there's a definite answer right there, but I think it had a lot more to do with just the city wanting to be in control of their area, pretty much. And I don't know why the fire marshal even kind of came around to the building and said, oh, you know, you don't have sprinklers or exits or whatever the spot, you know, whatever was needed for a venue per city standards. But I would have to say it had something to do with people just hanging out outside, drinking on the street, out on Market Street, probably, you know, all into the hours, which definitely happened. And I remember talking to Sean and saying, you know, like, dude, we can't have people on Market Street. Like, we really should never have those doors open. If people want to hang out outside, they should be out back. So I don't know if that's what alerted the authorities or whatever, but either way, I think it could have gone on a little bit longer if some kind of crowd control, some better crowd control had happened, but I can't really say. I mean, like I said, I don't have anything to do with running it, so Sean did the best that he could, and it had a really good run. So
I kind of expected it, unfortunately. Something so great couldn't last that long, you know. Disappointed. I was absolutely disappointed, and I mean, we all were, because we felt like you know, it was just getting started. And I really believe that it can happen again if it's done right this time. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm really, I'm just very grateful that I had an opportunity to meet so many people that shared my desire to have something fun to you know, go and something cool going on in Wilmington as far as music is concerned. You know, for artists and bands to have a place to show what they do, and I'm just, you know, again, I'm just really happy to have been involved.
I don't know. We need a new spot.
Yeah.
There needs, something like this does need to exist.